Let's put it on the table here. How can you get on stage, even if it's video or in person as Senator Cruz, and not endorse the party's nominee? How does that work, Rick?
Well, I think Senator Cruz will have a lot to talk about, and he'll talk about the future of the party. My suspicion is that he will not endorse. And, you know, look, Senator Cruz is sort of the intellectual recipient of the conservative movement, I would say, and that this party should actually stand something. And right now it seems to be going through somewhat of an identity crisis.
So then he has come to the intellectual conclusion that Donald Trump is not someone he can endorse. How is that a vote of confidence? You can make a laundry list of why Hillary Clinton shouldn't be the president of this country, but shouldn't he make the case as to why Donald Trump should be?
I think I'll make the case to vote for representatives like Sean Duffy here and for other members of Congress, and that there is an agenda that will go through the Congress, and hopefully a President Trump would endorse him. But this is, frankly, the most bizarre convention I've ever been to, and I've been to since '96. There's a distinct lack of enthusiasm. I mean, it's a simple thing to fill chairs. People are supposed to want to be in the room when the candidate is nominated. A lot of people seem not want to be in the room. That's sort of bizarre. And then the self-inflicted, it seems that maybe Melania's own actions led to the fact that piece of Michelle Obama text got into the speech.
That's what the New York Times is reporting, that she may have paired with a longtime friend and made these changes.
It still shouldn't have happened because, I mean, there's free software that checks these things, and somebody who was in charge of that speech didn't know to check. That's the problem of not having an organized campaign, and you're seeing that here. That cost this campaign over 2 days so far in momentum. So instead of talking about Giuliani's speech, instead of talking about the speeches, and frankly, I think some of them
you may not want to talk about. Ben Carson comparing Hillary Clinton to Lucifer going off script.
That was inappropriate, and I think Chris Christie's sort of passion play was sort of uncomfortable.
I disagree. From the floor perspective, I think there is incredible energy at this convention for Donald Trump. And
you convinced Joni Ernst of that? Did you see? Here's a former veteran, and she's sitting in an empty room.
I totally agree with that. But if you were there earlier when I spoke, the place was full. The problem was the convention, as many of them do, got caught going late. So she was 40 minutes to an hour after her scheduled time, and people did start to clear up because they had been there for a long while. So it wasn't about Joni or enthusiasm, it was about the time frame of the convention. I look at tonight with Ted Cruz. One of my concerns is I think there's a playback to Ronald Reagan in 1976, and there wasn't a formal endorsement of Mr. Ford, or President Ford, and there was this rousing speech for the conservative movement. This isn't 1976. With social media, with all of media, we're far more in touch with our candidates, and I think if Senator Cruz doesn't come out and say positive things about our nominee, I think it's really challenging for him to make the case to the American people and the conservative movement that he should be the next standard bearer of the party and the conservative movement. So I hope he comes out tonight.
So you're basically, though, making the case that Senator Cruz should come out and endorse Donald Trump, not because he believes in him, but because it puts him in good ground with the party later on.
But I think if you look at where these two are, if you talk about security, economy, growth, taxes, rules and regulation, ISIS, they're for the most part on the same page. So you can find some finer points. You might talk about how one communicates issues. Donald has offended a few people. You might find differences there. But the big issues, there's a stark separation between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and you should come out and say, which one do I want to lead my country? And you have to choose. You don't have a choice. It's one or the other.
Well, you do have a choice, and including the Bushes, who've decided to completely take their name out of the game here as far as supporting. There is always a choice, but let me ask you this. Remember the moment in the debate where each...
But it's not Donald, then it's Hillary.
When in the debate, when each of these candidates sat there and said Donald Trump was not qualified, someone you supported, Marco Rubio, had his career essentially dragged, and maybe to the end of his career because of Donald Trump. Ted Cruz's father was accused of being an accomplice in the death of Kennedy. How do you get up there tonight and pretend none of this ever happened?
But I think what our side will look at is those were words, and it was a tough campaign.
Words matter.
And so do actions. And when you look at when Hillary Clinton had a server in the basement and exposed our secrets to our enemies, that can cost people's lives.
Do any of Donald Trump's actions matter?
Those are words.
Do any of Donald Trump's actions matter? making fun of the disabled, the
but
incendiary
those are-
comments about women.
So
Those
let me
are
tell you,
actions.
If you look at the women who support Donald Trump, my wife's a minority and looks at the minority community and the Hispanic community and the growth of that movement because they care about jobs. They care about upward mobility. Those people that have come from Central and South America, they left those countries because of corruption. They left those countries because of rules and regulations that crush the economy, and they come here for free enterprise. Why would they want to vote for a candidate who's going to offer them the same policies and the same corruption
Congressman,
from
you
which
just
the
made
countries
case
in which
of why
they left?
people want to come to this country when Donald Trump says this country is at its worst.
No, it was
People are. You just made the case for America is great, that it doesn't need to be great again.
I'm making the
Is
case.
America great
What
now?
I'm saying, it can be greater because I look at my community. There is real stagnation in wages, and so if you want this economy to grow, reduce the role of government in our lives, Tamron.
But Donald Trump wants to protect Social Security and Medicare. This is the fundamental argument
what Congressman Duffy is saying is what I'd like to hear more of.
Which
because
is
we're
not
hearing
what the nominee
biggest
is
message
saying.
coming out of this campaign right now is Donald Trump may not like him, but he's not Hillary Clinton. That's not a very
and he
effective
is
and
in
positive
favor
message
of
to come out of the
big
campaign.
government. So when you say, what is he in favor of?
Well, listen, if you're in favor of Social Security, that doesn't mean you're in favor of big
but
government.
he is in favor of things that are fundamentally different than the conservative values of your party. Do you disagree with that?
I think that he believes in tax reform. I believe that he believes in working on reforming the rules and regulations that crush the small businesses that are in my community and the small banks in my communities. I think he believes in crushing ISIS. Those are things that our party rallies around. And it's a stark difference to Hillary Clinton.
I think, and we're almost out of time here, but I want to continue this line of conversation because I do think it is interesting. The average person understands why the party needs to unify. I think the average Republican voter may even understand the case of why Hillary Clinton may be fundamentally against their values. But in these past few days, has Donald Trump, Rick, Congressman Duffy, made the case as to what he can do for the country? You told me words don't matter. What about the actions? Have we heard enough as regards to jobs, as it relates to what is his plan to defeat ISIS? Is it, quote, bomb the hell out of ISIS? Where are the plans that match your vision for your party?
So, first of all, I don't think that words don't matter. I think words do matter. I just think they matter less than the actions that put people in danger. And Hillary Clinton put people in danger. That's my point there. When you talk about the policies, this is a convention of speakers who've come out and talked about these very issues, about economic growth and jobs and ISIS. That's been a theme of this campaign.
The word work was mentioned yesterday at the convention with all the speakers.
But listen, we've had different themes every night, and we're only on day 2. And frankly, my concern is when we sit and talk about Melania's issues with her speech and the plagiarism. I think that's an issue, but she's a wife. She's not a
Which
she's
we
not a
made
candidate.
clear on this show, Rick. We looked at the larger issue.
Coverage perspective, Sean says there was enthusiasm in the hall. I don't dispute that, but the news coverage perspective has been a disaster because they've lost a day and a half because of a simple mistake that could have been prevented. So look, let's see what Donald Trump says tomorrow night, and see how he hopefully he'll lay out these plans. We haven't heard from him yet.
And one thing is, Donald Trump has inspired the country and Democrats and independents in a profound way.
He's
and that's
not
why you see
inspired the
these,
country. He's inspired Republican.
That's why you see the polls so tight, because he's bringing people in from all different
What about
corners
his
of the voting.
disapproval number? It's a record high.
Hillary Clinton's disapproval is a record high as well. So, but polls are tight because Donald Trump is tapping into something very unique in our country.
We'll see.